How do you circumcise a redneck?
How?
You kick his sister in the jaw.
Oh, Jen! Oh my god! No!
Podcast. Oh, hello and hello and welcome back. See, that's the first joke that like people have had. I think last week Ryan Carrick. Hello, welcome back to the podcast, the show where I have a new guest on each week, or this week guests. I want to thank Ryan Carrick for coming on to the show, and this week I'm delighted to be joined by the host of the very popular Unpopular podcast, the very popular Unpopular Opinion podcast. Fuck, and I had that written down to make sure I didn't mess that up, and of course I messed it up. Jen Hatton and Karla K, how are you?
Good.
Karla K? What's like the K?
The K is Catherine. It's my middle name.
Okay, Karla
My
K.
full name isn't very attractive, so
Okay.
doesn't roll off the tongue. Karla O'Farrell doesn't really go.
It's not that bad, Karla O'Farrell.
Yeah, but it's not exactly. It's not like it. Just there's a couple of reasons. This way, it's a lot cleaner, especially when you're a Mua background. You know.
Yeah. But welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
No problem. I was saying there before I went in, that you're the first people who ever actually had a joke prepared. Except for Ryan Carrick had one last week. I don't know what was it. I actually might say it to you. It was he was at a bar. I'm already after remembering enough because it's
Butchers. Yeah, no.
Yeah, Butchers. I was at a bar and I seen a lady across the bar and she looked really, really hot. A woman who was older than me, and I went over and started chatting her up in the hopes that, who knows, she might have a hot daughter and she might have a sportsman double, which is a mother-daughter threesome. So she was talking away, and the mother said, "Do you like daughters?" And of course I was like, "Yeah, of course I do." And then he was like, "Well, if I just go back to mine, we can have a mother-daughter threesome." So I was delighted. I was like, unreal. So she brought me home. She opened the door and said, "Ma'am, are you awake?"
Oh,
Ryan says it better, but that was the first joke, but it went on way too long. Whereas Jen, yours was just
Plain cut.
they don't need to hear the first one. They don't need to.
No.
Oh, no.
Unless if you want to, I give someone like my PayPal or something, they can just for a fee. Yeah. I could pay.
But you have to agree to not cancel me though. There has to be a disclaimer. Like you have to tick the box and accept the cookies and don't cancel Jen.
If they write an article, the very first word has to be, "You cannot say anything to her because of this." But then Hatton said this joke. But girls, ladies, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, we're surviving. We're not great, are we, Jen? We're not great. I'm
trying to be positive. I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. I think though that's kind of an autopilot response now at this stage, because we are kind of all it's getting shit, isn't it? Like it's really shit this time around.
Do we need to be? We don't really need to be positive at this stage, do you? Like, you know, like there was a novelty for the first one, and then the second one was like, okay, we'll power through, and the third one's like, oh, for fuck's sake, I actually stop.
Yeah.
Like
it's like, here we go again.
Yeah, like the second one, and then the extension of the lockdown. And then you see your mates in New Zealand, and you're like, listen, I don't, I love, like, climate change is great, but another bushfire would shut you up, wouldn't it? Like, keep ticking over then. You wouldn't be too happy then in your clubs, would you?
You wouldn't be fucking going to festivals then, would you?
Yeah, you'd be burning at them. That's what you'd be doing. And I'd be happy at home here on my fucking Zoom call. But yeah, we don't need to be positive anymore. I think at this stage we just need to get through it. That's the kind of way to look. Like, I've stopped asking guests to come on the show, so how's lockdown been? Because it's been a full fucking year at this stage. So yeah. just don't ask. But anyways, how's lockdown been for you?
Anyway, I'm stuck for content. I'm going to go with the how's lockdown been for you. I'm not entirely sure.
I actually wanted to open up today because when this podcast is being recorded, like, it'll come out this week, at the end of this week. But while the day the podcast is being recorded is Pancake Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering, what is your like go-to recipe? Not recipe. What's your go-to toppings? What would you have in a pancake? First of all, first things first. American style thick ones or crepe style skinny ones?
Crepe all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're rotten. You're at nothing there with the thick ones, like.
Jenny, you're like repping some guy. Crepes all the way. Word up to the crepes.
Yeah, like the crepes and the bloods. The crepes.
What do you
Oh, stop.
what do you have in your pancakes? What do you like? Like
I have lemon juice, sugar, and strawberry jam.
oh.
Yeah.
Oh, you sicko.
I've always had
What do
them,
you
and
mean
I was
strawberry jam and sugar?
yeah, I know. And do you know what? To this day, and I'm 33 years old, I don't know what drink to pair with it because it's too sweet to have. Like, this is me struggle, right?
No, but like
hear
a
me
wine
out.
pairing.
Yeah. Listen,
It's not a tasting.
this is no, you don't understand. You don't. This is a huge thing in my life, and I don't like how you're laughing at this serious situation. Curry, I always have milk because it cools down the tongue after you have a spicy curry.
Yeah, you animal.
Spaghetti bolognese, very cold water or really fizzy Coke.
They could not be.
I know, but it has to be one of those. It can't just be like room, like it can't be tepid. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It has to, like, I have certain drinks with certain things, and I still haven't found. So if anybody has any suggestions for the pancakes, because they're very sweet and I don't know what to pair with them. But I was only thinking this today because I saw somebody put up on Instagram last night, and it was the really thick American style, like a stack, you know, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch type of, like a stack. And then I had like maple syrup, and I've been to America and I've had them, and they're not all that.
They're
I'm
not
sorry.
nice.
They're not
nice at all.
They're not nice at all. They're too
No.
like, they're squelchy or something. So they had this stack, and then they had this like melted Nutella and white chocolate and drizzled and all this sort of crap on the top. And I was like, I imagine if I put up on my feed, I still eat them like when I was a kid. So I put all the toppings on it, I roll it up, and then I cut them into little pieces.
I do that.
Oh, good. Thanks. Karla's looking at me like I am 5.
Okay.
I like.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
because you
that.
are 5.
Actually, do you know when I started making? I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember? Did you ever have snack attacks when you were older? It was like cheese string done these things. It was like Dairy Lunchables type.
Yeah.
And it was like a tiny little kind of like tortilla wrap. It was for like kids. And then you'd put there'd be ham in them. You put ham, and then you put the cheese string, and then you'd put like the tomato ketchup. Well, now as an adult, I have money, so I can. Well, I don't really, but I can buy like, you know, like proper big tortilla wraps and, you know, proper slices of ham, and like I still get the cheese strings because, you know, you can't change everything.
Yeah.
And then like get the Heinz ketchup and put it into the oven. So like, you know, I'm with you for still eating the same way I did when I was like 11 years of age.
Yeah, you can't. I just can't veer away from it. I was literally thinking this today. I was like, oh my god, there's absolutely no way. Imagine I put them up on my feed, I would be rinsed.
What about yourself, Karla? What's your go-to pancake?
My pancake porn.
Yeah.
What is my pancake porn? I've recently found this new thing, and it's very like I'm not entirely sure how I've only found it lately, but Biscoff. Anybody into Biscoff?
That's very strange you mentioned that, because my roommates were talking about it earlier on. Yeah, it's like this. It's like
It's delicious.
yeah, it's like biscuit, but like
It tastes like digestives, like melted digestives.
Yeah, and it's like a spread.
Yeah, so I've been absolutely banging it out there with the El Biscoff lately. A little bit too much. It is a bit grainy. Somebody made a comparison the other day about it being like, you know, that kind of the thickness of a peanut butter.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit vile. But I was only having this. My father is a true lemon and sugar connoisseur, if you will.
Same as my dad. Yeah.
And we got a crepe maker a while ago. I don't know why. I had a notion. I decided I wanted a crepe maker.
You have so many kitchen utensils.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, Karla. Like your house would want to be like the kitchen in a restaurant.
Yeah,
I'm like imagining you walk in, you open the door.
She does. She has a thing. She has something for everything. It's ridiculous.
I do. I love to waste money. I can't help myself. I cannot help myself. But I walked in. My dad was absolutely like, you know when you get a crepe maker, just treat it correctly. You know, don't get the.
Nothing worse than my crepe maker being.
Yeah, nothing worse than like trying to take out your crepe maker and it's all, there's all marks on it because your dad hasn't a bleeding clue and he's just banging it on. You know?
Especially the new crepe 3000 maker.
Especially my good crepe maker from Kevin's closing down sale. How dare you? Like, how fucking dare you? But I was actually telling my dad the story as well. I'm not sure if you saw it. It kind of went. I don't know if it went viral on TikTok or Twitter, but I thought this was a great idea, and I wish we had more stuff like this over here. But as you know, our government is so set in making this place anti-crack. But in America, there's obviously IHOP, which is the International House of Pancakes.
Oh yeah, is that what that stands for?
Yeah, IHOP, International House of Pancakes.
I used to think it was
I don't know.
Apple's store. I used to think it was a chain from Apple because
The eye. Oh my god.
like before I was like 6, like I was like 15. I'm not. This wasn't recently. You know, I wasn't like.
This wasn't last week.
Yeah. Go on, that's what we're saying.
But there was this. I think it was fantasy football. It was something to do. Anyway, this group of lads. This was their game. So whoever bet or made the losing bet or had the worst team on fantasy football had to go to an IHOP for 24 hours. But so you had to go sit in an IHOP. An IHOP is 24 hours in America. It never closes. So you can go there at any point and any time. Great for stoners in America. Great place.
A great place for
great
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Great place for Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Absolutely, for sure.
I remember the episode of Sabrina the Teenage Witch where she got like destroyed in pancakes, but I don't remember too vividly. So what's the?
It's a witch's kryptonite, Podge. Witches can't eat pancakes because they won't be able to stop. It's a witch's Pringle.
Right.
When she starts, she just can't stop.
Okay, go on, Karla. So what you were saying.
So anyway, if you lose the bet is you have to go to an IHOP for 24 hours. But every 2 pancakes you eat knocks an hour off your stay.
Oh God.
So this lad was like recording the whole thing, but each mate in the group takes like 2 hours to go and make sure that they're still there and to make sure that they've taken photos. They do it like they properly do it. So your man's there and he's like, yeah, hour 1, that's grand. Eat 4 pancakes, knock 2 hours down to 22. But you forget like how many pancakes. These are the thick American pancakes. Like these aren't normal pancakes. And also in IHOP, you can get the most disgusting toppings like blueberry syrup and all that mad shit. You know what I mean? Like,
do the friends choose the topics or the top toppings?
No, but they can send them pancakes. So there was like one where he'd just be sitting there and obviously stuffed to the gills, and then it'd be like, "Oh, John just sent you 4 more pancakes."
Because they're thick as well, and like you might get through. I'd say if I was hungry, 8. But then even when you're not hungry anymore because all you've eaten is pancakes, you're not going to want anymore.
No, you're just not. Like he was green by the end of it. I think in total he did 14 hours there. So if you think about it this way, if he did 14 hours, that's 10 hours. That's 20 pancakes. Like he ate 20 pancakes.
That's not what would be the equivalent for us? So apple green or topaz.
20 chicken fillet rolls. He ate 20 chicken fillet rolls.
You know, would you ever drive off when you're going like onto the M4 or like you're going onto the motorway?
The big garage. The
garage on the left, and there's always a Garda car there, or 2 or 3. There's always a Garda car, but their deli is always open. You just have to stay there for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Just eating the sausage rolls and or the
jam buns.
The jam buns. Oh, that look like they've just been burnt in hell and came back up.
They look like they're screaming.
Because we were having like I've never had a savory pancake. I've never it has to be sweet for me. Like I'm a golden syrup, a bit of lemon kind of guy, or like if I'm getting a crepe, you know, I might get like marshmallows or Nutella. But like if I was making a pancake, it would be golden syrup, and lemon. But like I've never had a savory. Like my roommate downstairs is making one with avocado, egg.
No, that's disgusting. I'm sorry, I saw that earlier. No,
bacon. Yeah,
this isn't fucking brunch. We're not at Sophie's pal. Give it a minute. Like he's gonna get the bechamel sauce out now in 2 seconds. Like whip it up. I can't with that.
He's actually using like ryu sauce, like peanut sauce that's like it's going on the top. Yeah, like I just feel like pancakes has to be savory for me. It's just as a kid.
People are going to throw in a fucking 3-in-1 before you know it. Like no, it has to stop somewhere.
Yeah,
it has to stop somewhere.
It's like a kid back from the Chinese with 3-in-1 and a side of pancakes. Instead of prawn crackers, it's just gonna be pancakes now.
Pancake and just shove it all in, like smash it up there and wrap it up and just down the gob, you know.
No, it's lovely. It's lovely. It's actually really, really nice. Like honestly, have you tried it before?
No, really good. Like Just Eat might actually sponsor me in my 3-in-1 pancake. Why not?
Just Eat. I've
Just
been
Eat out there.
There's no one out here.
There's no one out here.
There's no one out here. It's just the 3 of us. Actually, you're the first guest we've had via as a duo via Zoom. I was wondering how it would go, but it's so far so good. I guess maybe it's my internet back and off. It was awful. So if I had someone on with another person, it would be so delayed. But that was on me.
It's on you. That's your problem.
That's my problem. Not anymore because it's good Wi-Fi. But the Unpopular Opinion podcast. What made you start it? First of all, how did you guys meet? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you you followed each other on Instagram, wasn't it? It was like a online love.
Yeah. Jen
I
fancied
always tell this story. So Carrie, you go for it this time.
So Jen fancied me, and I was traveling, and she was like, that girl. And I was like, yeah, no, 100%, I get it. And it all started, I was actually in Mexico at the time, was when we first started properly chatting. And she was talking mad smack on her story about something. So obviously I was all in. And we'd kind of said, oh, we might do something when we get home. So we got home. Jen invited me as her plus one. As I said, she was trying to court me, just saying. And she invited me to the Nightmare Realm, which was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
I never did that. I always wanted to, but I never.
Don't. It's horrible. Why would you want that? I don't get people who enjoy that.
Do you not like a good scare?
No, I'm not horny for horror at all. That's just not my vibe.
I don't get a massive erection from it. Like, I'm not like, oh, fuck yes, unreal. That was class.
I don't like darkness, and like, I know it's actors, but I don't like it. I don't like it. And then they come for me more because I'm the one who reacts the most. And Jen just was like, stop reacting. And I was like, I can't. It's the worst.
It was really funny though, because that was the media night. So the actors were having a good bit of crack. And do you remember in some of the rooms, like the way, like they were proper like grassroots dubs, and you'd hear them with other people going, get out of me, ruin. They were gas. They were.
Oh, do you remember the one where we were crawling on the floor and we got locked?
Oh my god, the smell. Jesus, yeah. Some of them smelled like the back room of a butcher's. Like they were. I
love that kind of stuff. I love those kind of, or like I love thrill. Like I love bungee jumping and and stuff like that, like thrill seeking. But I love getting a good scare every now and again.
No, that wouldn't be for me. But after that, we decided we went to Edgy Rockets. Actually, it was very beautiful, very romantic.
It's like you went on a date.
We did go on a date. I've been saying this.
Like when you bring like your girlfriend at the age of 17, like your parents drop you off, you meet somewhere in town, you go to the Nightmare Realm, you go to Edgy Rockets.
Yeah. That's what we did. It was our date because we knew we were going to be future wives, internet wives.
We just didn't know how. So that would have been October. So we kind of were like, let's do something. We were thinking back and forth, and we wanted to do something. We were going to do something with video, and that automatically was way too much effort. So we kind of were like, no, we won't do that. We won't actually.
Was it like reaction? Do you know, like those commentary videos you'd see on YouTube? Like I don't know if you know Cody Co or like people like that, where they react to like stuff on the internet, or they.
That would have been a good idea. Jesus, where were you, Podge? For fuck's sake.
I was one of the actors in the Nightmare Realm. Fucking those bitches telling me to shut up. I have good ideas, but I won't share it with them anyways.
He was serving us cheese fries and Eddie's afterwards.
I'm going home to have my Chinese with my side of pancakes.
Oh, so that was October, and then we went to the Bulmers event. We were invited to the Bulmers event, and that is when we actually started chatting with It Gals. And I remember we were like, we were thinking about maybe doing a podcast, doing this, that, and the other. And Jenny and Lindsay were like, then do it. And we were like, yeah, no, we will. And they were like, okay, good, do it then, just do it. And we were like, okay, cool. So we started working on it. It took us ages. It took us 4 months to actually like get everything down, get it all together. And then we started, and we were both a bit shocked at the fact that it took off.
Yeah. We were like, we didn't take into account that we both had big followings before we started it. So we just thought, we'll do it for a bit of crack, see how it goes for about 6 weeks. If it flops, it flops. It's grand. At least like we'll have a little mini series out of it, or like throw it on the little portfolio or whatever. And here we are almost 2 years later, and it's like we're charting.
Yeah.
Usually
we're charting.
What smart.
me and the creps were charting up there, boys.
Yeah.
It's usually like when people say that you might be like, surely you thought it was going to be well, but when I asked you, surely you thought it was going to be good, like surely there was. But then when I asked you for your email, I completely believe you, because the email is the Unpopular Opinion 2019. It's like you didn't expect it to go further than there.
No, we really didn't. We really didn't. We were like, let's do them. Like we can do 8 episodes, whatever else like that. And I remember when we launched it, I was like, oh my God, people are actually listening to this. And then we kind of started charting. I was like, oh, look at us, we're kind of charting. Like this must be like a novelty thing. And then it just fucking took off, and we were like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're flying it. You're one of the biggest podcasts in Ireland. As you mentioned, they're constantly charting. which is incredible. Did lockdown have a huge part to play in that? Because a lot of I've seen definitely for creators it went one of two ways in terms of either A, they just completely fell off the map, or they just stopped, or then the polar opposite, which is just people just making content. Because I would have been the start flat out making content, whether it's been for work or for this, whatever it might be. But what about yourselves?
In terms of social media and because I do sketch comedy as well, that side of it, I suppose mentally I was affected with that, so I didn't really go in the upwards direction with that. I kind of leveled off or fell off. I'm just barely kind of doing stuff. You see, I'm living at home with my parents, so the house is full all the time, and I find it very hard to actually make the content in the first place, let alone get the motivation for it. But with the podcast, it's gone the opposite, and that it's really taken off, and people have had the time to listen to it, and we're still getting messages every week of people who are just starting from the beginning.
Yeah.
And
I really wish they wouldn't, by the way. I really wish.
I don't know where people do, about how people do that as well. When you find a good podcast, that's great. But going back to the beginning, that's a lot.
It's a lot for nearly 2 years of recording. And I think I keep forgetting that we've been at this nearly 2 years. I mean, I think the first time that we ever recorded with Shane was we were probably 4 months into the podcast.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting down and we were going through our statistics. And he was like, "You're actually doing quite well." And I was like, "Are we? I have no fucking clue what we should be benchmarking this against."
Yeah, exactly.
Not a fucking breeze. So yeah.
When you started as well though, podcasts were in terms of Ireland, you did have a few, I guess, kind of the It Gals, the Two Johnnies, or even actually because you had Blind Boy, people who were doing it for so long. But certainly when you started, same I guess with myself, the podcasts weren't as big. Now do you find every Tom, Dick and Harry left, right and centre is coming out with a podcast?
I feel like podcasts at the time, because when we were, as Karla said, it took us ages after we made the decision. It took us ages to get it off the ground, between getting equipment, learning what to do, because we self kind of produce and that, you know what I mean? So we were learning everything from scratch. So within, I think it was 5 or 6 months, in that time, everybody was coming out with one, and we were getting kind of freaked because we were like, oh, it just seems like a bandwagon now. Now, most of the ones that started stopped after 2 or 3 weeks. So it was kind of it wasn't really, it was kind of you really needed to know your concept before you begin, because it goes to show it's not that easy to do you know, that kind of way. But now, the way I think, because we were kind of freaking out that there was so many coming out, but now I kind of just see it as another form of social media. It's no different to somebody just setting up a TikTok account like millions of other people. Do you know?
It's funny though, isn't it? You often see people starting a podcast and stopping because it comes across as this, you're just talking to a mic. But there is actually so much more to it, especially if you want to actually progress and do something. I know a few people, friends from home, who do a podcast, don't promote it at all. I think it's just out of pure boredom. And that's fine. You're just chatting shy. But if you want to actually do something with a podcast, it's a lot more to just speaking to a mic and that's it.
Yeah, well, that's the way we thought of it at the beginning. We were just doing it as a kind of
right. Well,
right. Well, there's actually more, but okay.
Fuck me then.
Oh, what? What? I'm lost.
Did you just miss all that?
What?
Where are you?
You were for freezing.
Oh, are we?
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes so much more sense.
Oh, what?
Me and Karla were laughing, then you stopped, and we were like, "Oh,
she didn't like that."
And then you were like, "What? Where am I?" Oh no.
Anyway,
hello, welcome back to the podcast. John, you were saying, go on, at the start, you didn't think it was just kind of talking to a mic, but then as it went on, you kind of realized there was more to it.
No, at the beginning, we were just doing it as we weren't trying to make money from it or make a job out of it or anything like that.
Right.
At the beginning, we were just doing it as a bit of crack, something to do.
Passion project, if you will.
Passion project. I'd love to throw that description out there. And then when you start getting approached by agencies and sponsors and stuff like that, that's when you're like,
we did something here.
That's mad.
We actually did something here. I think as well, to pick up on that point, and I know it can kind of seem you don't want to be like, when I see other podcasts start, I'm like, good for you. Let's see how much effort you put into that. Because the problem is with a lot of people, when they start podcasting, they think, great, this is going to be a moneymaker. And it takes literally years to get there. So I feel like that's when you can kind of see who's doing it because they actually want to do it, and who's doing it because they were like, this is going to be another notch on my book. Because a lot of the times, especially on social media, it can be quite quick and quite easy to make money, especially if you go viral on TikTok, if you like kind of translate those followers over, if you get big on Instagram, you start getting a few brand deals. It can kind of be kind of quick and easy. I think a lot of the times the people that listen to podcasts and have kind of heard about podcasting think that they should have a podcast. And not everyone should have a podcast.
I do agree. I know what you mean. I like, and because, and some people are so, I think it's very different when you look at the likes of YouTubers, and when you're face to camera, it comes across to people who aren't in any way interested in the entertainment industry in any way, shape or form, whatever way that might be. It comes across that it's much harder to be in front of the camera, but you're very much, this is like it's a way of radio. Like, you wouldn't just jump onto the radio because it takes time, practice, effort. You know, there's a lot more than just like, hi, welcome back to the podcast where I talk about my top 3 fucking puddles of the week. Like, you know, there's so much more to why that came to my head, but like there's so much more to it than that.
Yeah, I think it goes back to that again. And a lot of the times when people speak to us, they're like, I'd love to start a podcast with my friends. What mics do you use? What this, that, and the other? And I'm always like, okay, so what's your idea? Oh, I haven't thought about that yet. So you're about to go all in on equipment and all in on this other stuff, but you haven't even thought about a concept. And that's what has to kind of happen first. And I feel like a lot of people are like, me and my mate are kind of funny. We should have a podcast because I think we're gas. Who the fuck wants to listen to that? So, like, I'm sorry. Like, no one wants to listen to your inside jokes for an hour a week. It's just not a thing that they want to do.
Was there much like concept ideas before you came with the concept of the Unpopular Opinion of like new topics this week? Did you have like anything else that you I was going to say fondled with, which is just not the words to use there, messed with? You'll find that when I'm talking, I'm not great with the old English language, so I just pick words.
Good to have a podcast though. Well done. Yeah. No,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's why I interview people. That's what, you know, I say a question, then I sit back. But like, I find like the word does make sense, but just not the greatest context. But were there other ideas that you were kind of exploring before, you know, you came with the Unpopular Opinion of like a new topic each week and you discussed, or was there anything else that you had talked about?
We had, see, the whole, what we wanted, we knew we wanted to do something before it became the Unpopular Opinion, and at the time it was when Bloggers Unveiled was out.
Oh yeah, do you remember that? Where did that go?
Yeah, so you're talking like summer. Yeah, so you're talking to summer 2018 was when we were kind of talking about doing something, and then our podcast didn't start until May 2019, was it?
Yeah.
So like that's how long we wanted to do something, and we were it was around the time, not so much anymore. Like we tend to kind of stay away from the controversial topics now, but at the time it was like nobody really with a face. Do you know what I mean? Bloggers Unveiled was anonymous, so we were like, we should do something kind of not. It was to be around that. We didn't want to be like outing people or being like gossip girls.
More than anything
we
else.
wanted to discuss, the kind of goings on of the influencer blogging world and stuff. But we just didn't know what to do. We were thinking like doing something with video, so like maybe YouTube videos, or you know, it was a very, very loose idea before it became a podcast.
Because correct me if I'm wrong, is your first episode not on religion, isn't it?
Yeah, but when it became a podcast, we were like, we'll just talk about topics, because me and Karla were known for being quite opinionated and controversial on our separate Instagram channels before we started it. And now we just kind of point that towards the podcast, and we're not really like that on our socials anymore.
And do you find it like, do you ever feel like you can't have an opinion on something, or has there ever been moments where you're like, oh, I actually won't say that or anything, or is it just unfiltered to an extent? Do you know what I mean?
We've learned. If that's what you're trying to ask, we've learned over the years. Yeah, we've learned what we can and can't touch. I think with success also comes a portion of editing, and that's really unfortunate, but that's what it is. Our first episode, please never listen to it. It's all over the shop, but it's good crack. Like, and we were kind of like, yeah, it's gonna be real fun and it's gonna be real top line. And then you build an audience, and then you realize with that audience, not everybody's actually there to support you. A lot of people are there to ridicule you as well, and they're kind of looking for something. Now, why anyone would ever dedicate an hour a week to somebody that they don't like to hear about, absolutely beyond me. But it does happen. Very odd, but it does happen. So over the time, we've kind of had to filter ourselves slightly. And we kind of just, I think it was around the second lockdown where we kind of sat down and we were like, right, what do we want to do and what do we want to hear? If we were listening to, podcasts all the time, what are the topics that we constantly click into and what are the topics that we go for? So we just made everything a lot more lighthearted. And since then, we've really taken off.
Do you have a long-term goal? Like, since you have like grown so much, and rightly so, your podcast is very entertaining to listen to. Do you have like a long-term vision now? Has it gone past a passion project to now just your passion?
It has. Like, I'd love to do it full time. And it's like the last year has really kind of made it look like that's a possibility. We've also started we started a Patreon at the start of last year, where we were kind of just doing one episode a month. Then I think it was during the second lockdown, we were like, right, well, it was really Karla's kind of thing going, we need to put more into the Patreon. So now we do, we call it minisodes every Monday. So there's like 5 episodes a month on Patreon now. So we're getting kind of financial support from that. And it's starting to look like we could possibly do this as a job one day if we keep going the way that we're going, which is brilliant. I would love to. I was only thinking last week, because obviously I edit everything myself, and I'd love to have more time to put into making it better than what it is. Like, it could be so much better than what it is, and we could, obviously we're in a pandemic now, so we can't really do much, but we were like, we'd love to do a whole new kind of rebrand. We'd love to do video content. We'd love to put so much more into it, but 2 of us have full-time jobs, and obviously we're in a pandemic, so we're limited anyway. But that would be kind of, I suppose, the next year's plan if we can.
Is there so much, like, you see that now with loads of different podcasts that like I'd be hugely interested in or whatever, but it's what once was a form of kind of audio content can now is so much more in terms of, you can get income from it. You can have a YouTube channel, you can then like have a best bits clips channel, you can have a TikTok from it. Like, there is so much production that can go into a podcast to get to essentially milk that great content you'd be coming out with. That like it's no longer just kind of, it's the same with everything. There's no longer just one stream. There's so many different ways. If, again, you mentioned there, like, if you had the means to do it, but like you're slowly getting there. Like, do you have plans to go, I guess, visual at any time after the podcast, or after the pandemic?
We'd love to see. We're both in situations now where we're living in our parents' house, because we both have deposits for our houses, just trying to get it fucking cracking now with the pandemic going on. But I know in my own house, when I get my own house, because my fella is a music producer, there'll definitely be a studio going into my house, which will be like a permanent thing. So
when the kid annoys you, you can just go in, close the door, and go, ah!
Yeah,
exactly. That's it.
Yeah. Well, you see, it'll be his studio. I'd say we will probably get it set up that it's going to be like a permanent thing, and it'll be suitable for our podcast and his music production. So I would love to do it right firsthand, install cameras, have it all set up that we just go in and sit down, and that's the setup, and we'll see what we can do from there. Like,
yeah. I think we talked. Oh, sorry.
No. Go on.
We spoke about as well of actually record a lot of the times when we do any kind of content on our Instagram page, and that's kind of where we link up a lot of our content, a lot of our ideas. Like, most people want us visually as well, but it's just, again, as Jen said, the living situation isn't ideal. So we've thought about podcasting, having it as this kind of form, but then also possibly recording the episodes and recording me and Jen's reaction to each other, because that is half the crack. Is like the faces you make while you're reading out some of the stories, and
that's what people that's where people love. Like, I know loads of people prefer that, and certainly in terms of growing a podcast, you see that. Like Joe Rogan is a perfect example in terms of that's where a lot of it comes in. It's because of those little clips. Now his podcast is like 17 million hours long every episode, so like I don't know many who are going to listen to the full thing, but it's that idea of getting that small bit of viral content from those clips of videos, and that's where you're obviously going to grow certainly a wider audience outside of maybe Ireland or wherever it might be.
Yeah, you can kind of lift it that way. I think, you know, we want to do live shows. We've been kind of, Jen has put the brake on me trying to do them quite a few times, as Jen is the perfectionist.
It's not that. I'm just, I probably try and micromanage us a bit too much. I'd be petrified of not having the perfect topic for, do you know what I mean? Like, I like to put a load of preparation into it just because I've been on stage before and I hate being on stage and not being prepared. When I'm prepared on stage, I fly it. I live on that thing. But if I'm not prepared, I crumble.
When were you not prepared?
Oh, so many stand-up gigs. That's why I don't do stand-up. Because I'm a master procrastinator. So I've been asked, and like the only stand-up gigs that I've done have been like for charity, that kind of thing. And I'm like, I'll be asked months in advance, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. That's fine. That's grand. And then like 48 hours before the show, I'm just like, what the fuck am I going? Because I don't have a set. I've never written a set. So I'll just think up, because it'll only be like a 5-minute slot, you know, so it's not that long. So I'll think of like what I'm going to say like 2 days before, and I don't have it memorized. I just have a kind of very vague idea of what I'm going to do. Sometimes I think about in the car on the way. And I just like, they've done well. One or two have flopped, but for the most part, I got away with it. But I just hated every moment of it.
I'd be too afraid to do stand up. I don't think I much prefer like.
Oh, it's terrifying.
I'm wittier when I'm talking to people, but I having a set would be probably one of my biggest nightmares. But if you were to do a live show, because like your podcast is very kind of rooted as well in the interaction with the audience, with the audience, with your followers, and if you're doing a live show, I presume you'd probably do the same format to an extent there, wouldn't you?
Look, Podge, I'm a messy bitch who loves drama. I'd love to go in there, absolutely no preparation, balls to the wall.
All right, who is a fucking topic? Throw them up here. Who? That fucking jacket is sick. Get up on stage. We'll talk about it. What's been actually the weird? Like, has there been any weird? Like, the weirdest message you've got from that burner phone of yours? Because you done a podcast recently on embarrassing moments, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
So surely you got a few. I feel like you definitely got a few messages there that you're like, oh well, deleting that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few sometimes, and it's funny because I said it and the embarrassing one. I was sharing the stories afterwards, and I was like, wow, we are oversharers. Some girl, there was 2 stories in particular. One we put on the Patreon because we did embarrassing stories part 2 on Patreon. Because what we found, our Patreon episodes are like, and obviously we love our main show, that's our baby, but like the Patreon is where you can just say whatever the fuck you want. Jen can tell her awful jokes. You can kind of, you're a little bit more protected. But there was one in particular, and it was a girl who was telling us about like, she was like, embarrassing story. I was in my boyfriend's house, and he had gone out for the day, and we've been using his Amazon or Google Play or something along those lines.
It was like hooked up to all the
TVs. And she was like, so I decided I was gonna masturbate. So I was picking my porn out. I was like, yeah, girl. She was like, getting ready to finger myself. And I'm just, yeah. I was like, you are just so candid. You are just telling me the story. You are going for it. It
would have been funnier if that was the story. Like, if there was nothing to do with the Google Play or anything. She was just letting you know. Yesterday, I was actually
just masturbating the other day. Just thought I'd tell you, girls.
Wanted to have a wank. Nothing embarrassing about it. Just wanted to let you know I'm doing okay in lockdown.
It was the way that she was like, I was just picking my porn out. And I was like, yes, sex positivity. But also you do realize that I can see who you are. And she's like, and obviously
she didn't give a shit. I think fair play to her.
Oh, definitely. But I think it's just funny to kind of to grow that community and to like for them to kind of trust us with those stories. You're just like, fucking hell, you will just embarrass yourself, won't you?
Yeah.
Because it's funny because look, you did realize that in the sense that like you don't know them, but they've listened to so many of your episodes. And when we come back to the likes of talking in a podcast and a longer form of content, you get to know the person a little bit more. And I don't know about you, but I prefer, like when I'm just in the studio with a mic in front of me now, I probably will, like there will be cameras at some stage, don't get me wrong, but when I'm just in a mic, I feel a little like the walls are down even that little bit more because there's no direct visual. It's you in a conversation. So for that hour, they get to know you way better than any other kind of form of content you do. So as far as they're concerned, you know, they know you so well. So they're like, listen, finger in the box off myself there. Come here to me. Come here to me.
Come here to me. I'm going to tell you this little story.
That is so true. I was in work yesterday, and our paper supplier, a woman rang and she asked for me. She was the new rep, so our old rep was after moving to a different department, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm just letting you know that I'll be dealing with you now." And I was like, "All right, that's grand. Thanks very much." She was like, "Jen, are you on the podcast? Are you the Unpopular Opinion podcast with Karla Kay? Are you that Jen?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, I listen to you all the time," and I felt seen.
Oh,
Like, more than any person who has ever said in the street, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram." When she said about the podcast, this woman that I'd never met before, I was like, oh, she's heard so many of the things that I said.
yeah. You know me. Oh, you know me. Okay, yeah.
So about that paper.
Yeah. Fuck. It was actually it was like, I've never felt that way of anybody coming up to me saying like, "Oh, I follow you on Instagram," or whatever. It was that was the first time I was like, "Oh shit," because you do. It's like people know you so much more.
I had written down because I was talking to someone last week about just embarrassing moments, and I had a funny one for you, and I know you were discussing in terms of the podcast was, do people remember? Because it's been a while since I listened to it, but Jen, you thought that people, like more embarrassing moments, like people in your class wouldn't remember, and Karla, you were saying they actually do.
Yeah,
I do. I was a very late bloomer in terms of puberty, like a very like, you know, was it going to happen? Who knew? Like I'm talking like very, very late. I was like, well, the parts that, like, you know, you'd want to hit first. And I was like 16, and we went on like a trip for TY away to Carlingford, one of those adventure centres, you know, bringing you all together. And you put on harnesses. And like with a guy, do you know when you put on a harness if you're doing a bungee jump or a skydive or anything?
It's the bulge part.
You could see the bulge.
Yeah.
Well, there was not much to be seen because I hadn't, nothing had grown.
Your balls hadn't dropped yet.
Yeah, they hadn't dropped, and I was like, oh shit. And I remember I was like, I can't, because like 16, 17 at this stage, you know, there's lads who hit puberty at the age of like 6. There's lads who went to primary school there.
I was one of them. I'm with you. I was one of them. I was 16 when I bloomed.
And then I thought you were saying you were like 6, so I was just gonna like,
no, you were gonna snap. Now I'm with you. I'm Team Podge. Yeah, I was one of them.
So I didn't know what to do, and like, you know, you're at that age as well where, like, you know, you're starting to get with girls, and like there's relationships starting to form, and you know,
you're starting to drop the hand, Podge. That's what you're trying to say.
Well, there was nothing dropping for me. I think that's the theme of this story. And I didn't know what to do, so I got 2 stones and I put them. Because
you fucking didn't.
The harness keeps them, kind of held them up, and I was like, that's fine. And then I was kind of like walking around like Billy Big Dick, because that's now they look huge. So I just like to do, you know, walking around with lads. And then my turn came around to climb up the wall, and I climbed up, and of course my fucking right leg like slipped. So I slipped, and you know, if you're doing rock climbing, when you slip, you have to hold on and you have to stay there. Because you're not going to grab back up. But when I slipped, these 2 rocks just trickled down my leg, and it was like something in a film. I slowly turned around to like the guys who were holding my rope, and I could not turn, so I just had to keep turning around, and it was one of the most embarrassing moments. And I don't actually think many of them remember that. I think there was a very nice group. The group I was with were very nice people, the kind of people who wouldn't have said it to anyone. But like that stuck with me for the rest of my life. Like that is one of the peak embarrassing moments.
Oh,
But would they like, because it's so demented putting rocks down your jocks, like that is just.
but
That's
it's no
fucking
different
bizarre.
to stuff in your bra, though, Carla, because that's just
Rocks,
after.
Jen, rocks.
It's after reminding me
wasn't.
though.
I was at like a rock climbing resort. I didn't have much to work with. There was a different. there was a, like, you can use the foam, you can use the rocks, you can use a pillow. Like there was literally just dirt or rocks. I didn't have much to work with. You got to give me something here. Like there was.
I just don't think anybody would have thought that you were tapped enough just to stuff rocks down there. So I thought that they might have thought maybe the rocks were just like, I don't
kicked them
know,
off the
you
wall
kicked
or
them off-
something.
Yeah, like.
See, but that's the funny thing, because that is, but for the rest of my life, I was
No,
like,
yeah, start.
I hadn't it, but that is something I never actually. Fuck yeah, fair enough.
Choices.
Yeah,
Podge,
well, you see,
choices.
they didn't actually notice, Podge. I stuffed my bra before, like you. I was a late bloomer, and I was asked, would you wear socks if you had no feet? And I said no. And then I got asked, why are you wearing a bra then? Because I was after stuffing my bra, and they knew.
Fucking rude.
Oh, that is so rude.
Oh,
That's-
yeah.
but
They were my
bullying,
friends.
though. That's
Oh my god. See, like I was always sexy, so I never had any of these issues.
well, it must be nice.
All right, Carla. All
I'm
right.
joking.
I actually, Jen, you're the same
Yeah.
as me with
You're
the braces.
privileged.
No, I just like I just.
We're like, are you a Sagittarius, Podge?
I'm an Aries. I'm an
Are
Aries.
you an Aries
All right.
male?
Yeah, I'm an Aries man.
How
Yeah.
exciting.
I'm not big into the astrology though.
A cardinal sign. I'm so into it.
But yeah, I got the
Cardinal
races same as you, Jen.
Yeah,
The train tracks.
we are twins.
You're
I saw it on your TikTok. Do you have them on the bottom as well?
Yeah, I had top ones. Actually, to make that story worse, during that story of the rocks, I had just gotten braces as well, and my teeth were very bad because I had to get top and bottom. I got top the first time, but now I have to get top and bottom because I have to get my whole jaw broken and relocated.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So, but I had braces, and I was a very ugly look. Actually, let me show you just how.
What the fuck is this? Podge is literally like, do you want to know how bet I was? Do you want to know how topped I was? Do you want to know?
I don't know how ugly I as a child I was with my braces. I've only recently realized how to like share my screen and record at the same time through Zoom. So I'm having a field day here. Like,
Oh,
showing-
deadly! We get to see the whole lot.
You can see the.
Me and Jen are big on childhood trauma, so I think you are perfect. You were
Yeah.
just-
Oh, I could actually start a podcast on my childhood trauma, and majority of it's self-inflicted too. Like it's not
Yeah,
like
for sure.
I had fantastic parents, incredible upbringing,
Yeah,
and I just still brought it on myself.
same.
No.
Oh.
This is
Oh
Podge.
my no.
look at those jokes.
Hardly.
They're all growing their own teeth. They're that separated.
Ah,
You.
and they're even after putting a muzzle on you and everything.
Well, here, listen. Look,
You'll have to forgive me. The baby is awake. Just give me 1 second. I'll put him back down.
That's the problem. I'm
He's awake.
like 13. I'm 14, 15 there. Like I'm not like 11 or 12. I'm older than I look.
You're not older than 12.
No, I think I'm like 14, 15 there at least.
That is my thing. Like, although I will say, right, you're lucky because first of all, builds character. Second of all, you can only be, you only get one choice. You only get one peak, right? And you either peaked in secondary school.
Yeah, very true. And you see a lot of people who
All the ones that everyone fancied, they're all fucked now. Yeah.
and you're just like, oh, where's your like topping someone in the Harriers now?
Exactly.
I'm actually having sex. Not really. It's a pandemic, but I could be. Who
I
knows?
could be. People would be interested in that activity with me at some points.
And let's hope. I still have to
Fingers
lose my
crossed.
virginity, but I'm saving it for the right person or any person. A pulse. Who knows?
But I have blamed, and that's all that is important.
Yeah, no, that is true. I do always, and I do think as well, it grows a little bit of like you mature better when you're not that good looking as a young adult or like a teenager, because like you're more respectful because
You
You're
don't
not-
have anything else to go off.
yeah, because you're not overly confident. Think everyone wants to get with you because you're kind of like, okay, you're still a little bit self-conscious, as you would be. Like there was someone who obviously not gonna say who or whatever, but
Call him out.
so there's a fucking fella. No, there was a girl I was getting with. This was a good while ago, and she was talking about. I think it was maybe like November. I think, anyways, and was going to invite me over, but I think she was a bit hesitant to. I was like, oh, like, you know, and I kind of understood why. Is like, invite me over, just, and I'm not expecting anything. You know, we're in a pandemic. There's literally nothing else to do. I understand the dilemma of, and then she's like, oh, thank you so much. You're so nice. And I was like, you should be praising me for the bare minimum.
Like, the bar's on the floor.
Yeah, like the bar is like, I am delighted to be like, oh, I'm amazing. But honestly, there's no need to. I'm literally doing the bare minimum of just being in any way. I'm not even being overly respectful. I'm just being, you know, I'm not going over and beyond. I'm just being somewhat.
It builds character. I did say that, like, me and Jen talk about it quite an amount. We always get into the old childhood trauma because it builds character. You know, as much as I wish I was sexy as a teenager, I definitely was not sexy as a teenager. As much as I could try and convince myself I was.
I'm thriving now, and I'll take it. Like, I hope my kids are ugly. Right,
yeah, 100%. I want them to get bullied just a little bit, enough to build character. That's all I want for them.
Although being bullied now, like, I was probably the same as you in terms of you'd be bullied in school and that was it. Like, you go home and then your home is your safe zone. But being bullied now is a different kettle of fish altogether. You can't escape it because it's just
it fucking follows you everywhere. And the problem is most of it goes on online. But like, I couldn't be a kid nowadays. I just couldn't.
But there's they aren't kids. They're do you know when you went to teenage discos and you'd be wearing the luminous, bright
fucking outfits,
and you would think, I am God's greatest gift since sliced pan, and then you look back on yourself and you're like, oh, even like when I'm looking back and forth when I'm 18, which isn't that long ago, and I'm still like, jeez, why'd you wear that?
Podge, I do that with outfits from last year, so
yeah, we all do that. Yeah,
but they're not like, you can't be a proper kid. You can't go out anymore. It's not like you go out and play. This is the most depressing thing ever. There's an estate right beside my house, where I used to, like, I met my best friend, my longest friends there, and me and my best friend's mother have been best friends since we're 25, 26 now, since we were 11. So that's what, 15 years, which is quick maths. But like, you drive by and like, there would always be people out, and there's kids in the estate. It's not as if everyone grew old. Like, there's loads of kids in the estate, but they're never out there anymore. And I find that so sad to see. Yeah. It's not like a fucking mother. It's not like
it's not like it was that back then. No, I find that there was a couple of years where it was a bit like that around here. There was nobody out, but now I have to say, since last year, when lockdown ensued, all the kids were out. It was like, you're not allowed to be out, and there you are. Down the end of the fields, they dig a hole at the end of my road.
Here we go, the hole.
The hole. They dig the same hole every year, and then the council have to come and fill it in, and then the next year they go and dig the same hole. I don't know where they're trying to dig to. Fair play to them. They'd be manky by the end of the day. It's great crack.
Port Marnock or something.
Blanche.
No, but that's where they're trying to dig to.
Oh yeah,
they're trying to get to the sea, Podge. They're trying to get to the sea.
That's what I mean. Like, they're just trying to get out.
Yeah. Bless them.
Guys, we're a bit over now. But before we finish, I want to ask, what is, you've kind of brushed over already, but in terms of like next year, do you have any set goals that you want to hit? Do you have like live show, anything you want to hit to make sure that you get there again? Like, do you have any? I don't know if I keep trying to say the one sentence that I'm sure makes sense.
Where are we trying to get? Where are we trying to go?
Yeah, like, do you have any goals for the next year? Because I always kind of give the timeline of this time last year, where would you like to be this time next year?
I'd like to be, we've talked about live shows. It's definitely something that we want to do. And it's something that we will do. And I think Jen is loosening up on the idea of not having every single sentence written. So we'll get there. We definitely want to do live shows. That's something that we definitely want to do. I'd love to work with bigger creators. Me and Jen were talking about this a good bit, but what we found quite a bit is that we're not there yet as far as recognition specifically from men in the entertainment industry. Women always agree to come on. They respect us. They respect our time. We've had a lot of no-show men and people that have committed to the podcast and then just decided they're...
Oh, you are preaching to the choir there.
Yeah.
You are. I'm no show central. That's what they call me. They call me No Show Podge. They don't call me that at all because they never fucking show up to call me.
Yeah. And I feel like that is kind of something I'd love to build a kind of notoriety. And I'm not entirely like, the thing is with me and Jen, as we said, we both have jobs. This is kind of what we do. It's a passion project, but it's really kind of taken off now. So it's difficult because you want to stay true to you. And you want to kind of stay true to your audience, but at the same time, there has to be growth somewhere. And obviously we don't want to, like, we've been trying to diversify up what we do and who we have on and that kind of stuff, but it can be quite difficult, especially in Ireland. It's like kind of the same fishing pot, and there's nothing fucking worse than when you have a no-show from someone and you see them doing a similar podcast 2 weeks later with two fucking lads. Nothing like it. So it'd be nice to kind of gain respect, I suppose.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I completely, like, for me, I don't know now. No shows for me have just been, you know, I understand often when people no show for certain reasons. There has been one or two where it's been complete like radio silence and date booked and everything, and I've like been ghosted, and I'm not even on Tinder, so I don't know why. That's why I shouldn't feel the same way I do as I do when I'm on fucking Tinder. Do you have a low light and a highlight of your podcast so far?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh God.
Or even
I've
a
episodes
highlight.
that I hate. I've episodes that I hate. And I've episodes that I really enjoy. I suppose a highlight of the podcast was probably our first sponsorship deal, because it was kind of like, right, okay, here we are now. Like, we got signed to Acast and that was great. We were kind of making money through ads, and it's not really, again, it's not, half the time it's not about the money, it's about the notoriety. It's about being acknowledged.
But that's it's about like it's paying off. Like, you're putting work and effort into it. You're doing, as you said, 5 Patreon episodes a week. You're doing a regular episode a week, and your social media, and you're keeping in touch. You have the burner phone, so you obviously have to go through all of that, and you have to come up with topics. So there is a lot of work that goes into it. So it's about that, like, you know, this is paying off. There is something coming from this, and it doesn't have to be money. Of course, money helps in terms of making it into some sort of a career, but it's seeing that people are actually enjoying what you're putting out there, and I'm sure it probably makes it more enjoyable for you, while there's obviously that added pressure, because now you're getting money from it, and now you do have a Patreon subscribers, and now you do have, you know, a means to make something out of this. But it gives that little bit, I guess, more energy in a different way, because it's not just, you know, just this podcast you're putting out that nothing's coming from it. Like, there is definite opportunities.
Yeah. I think I did that. It comes to that. I think, I mean, my least favorite episode we ever did was one that we did on award shows. Oh man, I hated that episode.
Really?
I hated that episode so much, Jen. Do you not remember afterwards? I was like, I'm actually quitting this. I'm shy.
How'd that go?
I don't even remember it.
Anyway, I'm still here, but just being a bit dramatic. No, award shows. I fucking. We recorded in the front room, kitchen table, or the
I remember recording it. I just don't
Oh, it was poor. It was very poor. So don't listen to that one. Don't listen to that one.
So whatever you do. What about yourself, Jen? Low light, highlight.
I suppose a highlight would be like the messages that we get every week now, like saying, you know, from people saying that they listened to, or how often they listen to it, and how they fit it into their Sunday, and it makes them feel like how it makes them feel when they listen to it. It's like listening to two mates, and especially when it's people abroad saying, I feel like I'm at home with me two mates when I listen to it, because they do that out of homesickness. Or somebody mentioned us on their story there last week, and it was Saturday, we uploaded on a Sunday, and he was like, I'm after waking up and thinking it was Sunday and there was no episode up because it's only Saturday, and I'm after checking Patreon to see was there an episode, but I'm already after listening to it. But to see how like on it he was about listening to it, like I loved that. I love seeing the actual people who listen to it and who enjoy it that much. So I'm loving that, and I suppose that's what gives me the jitters. That's what makes me happy when I think about the podcast. Lola, I don't really. I suppose sometimes me and Karla have had like tension or riffs in a conversation in certain episodes, and that kind of awkwardness kind of makes me feel low sometimes. But I can't think of any other low. Like,
But that's part of it as well, though. It's that's probably why people resonate, and it's like I'm talking to two mates, because that happens. I mean, it was completely, you word for word knew what you were going to say beforehand. That takes away from the authenticity of the kind of crack that you do have for each episode.
Yeah.
I think as well, like Jen and me were mates, we're also business partners now, and there's you know, I even hate being like, we're business partners because we're a business, but at the same time, you know, when you're making money and when you've contracts and everything else like that in place, and when you've timelines and when you've stuff to do, we do have to constantly kind of look at ourselves and evolve. As Jen said, I feel like the pandemic has kind of put everybody into a pressure cooker, and it's really grown the podcast. It's especially grown our Patreon, because the people that do really genuinely love us, love the Patreon, and kind of see the value in it, which is great. And I think that people are kind of coming around now to paying for content and to being used to paying for content with like Spotify, Now TV, all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think as well, it can kind of, it can put that element of pressure, and that element of kind of, you know, it can become a lot, especially when you're two girls. Jen has a family of her own. I might as well have a family of my own with the way that my parents, my sister act, but you know, it is what it is. And it can kind of, you can have so many ideas, but then it's about actioning those things, and that can be kind of a bit of, I'm sure it's the same with you, Podge. Like, you're like, I want to do this and this and this and this and this, and then when it comes down to it, you're like, right, I've time to do half of one of those things.
Yeah. And I did have a co-host as well for a while, Don, who was great, but it came down to it where like it wasn't as big of a interest for him as it was for me, and even that in itself, you'd be like, oh, come on, let's do it this week and stuff. So completely, I completely get what you were saying there. But it is absolutely flying it, and great to see you doing so well. And hopefully, you know, if you're this time next year, if you're not too famous, come back on and we can see change more. Jesus Christ, I'm going to do that again, Shane. And that hasn't happened to me in a while, but you're absolutely flying. No, we'll leave it in. But it'll be great to see this time next year in terms of how much you've grown, and hopefully you will be out of this pandemic and you'll be able to do live shows and all of that. Guys, for the guys who are listening, where would you direct them to first?
So our podcast is called The Unpopular Opinion, and then
you should have mentioned that. That would have been...
our Instagram is The Unpopular Opinion 2020. We did change it from 2019, and we were like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to keep doing that. Maybe we shouldn't have put 2019 into it. Bollocks. But anyway, so it's 2020, and we're keeping it that way. And then Karla on Instagram is Karla K Artistry, and I'm Jen __ Hatton. So guys, good, there's two.
Thank you very much for joining me on the podcast today. If you want to get in touch, podgetthepodcast.ie or Podge Henry on all social medias. For myself here in Shane and Collaborative Studios, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. Bye.